What is up, everybody? Slasher here. Today we're going to take a look at a fun and maybe not so viewed recently of a deck. So, I hope you like what you're going to see, and don't forget to give a subscribe if you haven't already. So, let's jump into it. That's right, we are looking at God Trunks, or Xeno Trunks. This is a bit of a strange one to be looking at right now, but because of the combo support, it has a lot of strengths right now. And yeah, let's start off the list. So we have the leader itself, activate main for drawing, which is great. It means turn 1, if you can't attack, you can already do the ability. You send 1 card from your hand to your warp, and then you draw 2. The intent is that we want to get 5 Saiyans in our warp, that way we can awaken, which happens very quick with this deck. Typically by turn 2, always it happens. And if not, there's always ways you can force it out too. So, activate main, you send 1 card from your hand to your warp, draw 2 cards, and if your life's 4 or less, or there are 5 or more Saiyans in your warp, you may draw 1, switch 1, flip the card over. So you don't even have to take lives down to 6 or 5, things like that. So, we also have support of the Dark Empire for our free negates. Can also help you if you're in a tight spot and you're not somehow seeing your Saiyans. You can self-awaken with them, but I guarantee you're going to see your Saiyans. We have the Trunks. This one is if you have 10 or more black cards in your warp, this will become a double strike. So you only pay 1 energy on turn 3 and you've got a 20k double strike. Fantastic card to have. Of course, you can always add, I've put them in the side deck here, the Son Goku Berserking Instincts. You would have 3 or more energy. You can play this. It's going to be a 25k double strike, but then it's going to be stuck in rest mode. If you want to go more aggressive, you can add that. And we'll get to that later as well, what you can replace for it. Then we've also got the Pan, challenging a Demon God. This is practically your topos for the deck. You can send 1 card in your hand and place it in the warp, and then choose every time they attack with the battle cards. They have to choose 2 cards in their hand and discard them each time, which is pretty brutal. Then we've got the dual attack God Trunks himself. It is a pretty solid card. It's a heavy hitter. So you can, when you attack with this card, and it's not once per turn as well, you can place 3 cards, black battle cards, from your warp to the owner's drop. So if you need to get some sort of overwhelm for that turn, you can do that. We've also got the Son Goten and Gohans. Now these cards are a part of your engine for early game to help you awaken. So what you do is you would turn 1 charge an energy, and then turn 1 you place one of these cards, like the Goten here or the Gohan, into your warp. Then you can use its activate main and play this from your warp. Then you get to send the top 3 cards of your deck to your warp. So it helps cycling that very fast. Then we've also got Supreme Kai of Time. She will also do the same thing as well. When you'll play this unison, you can place the top 3 cards of your deck and send them to your warp. And then when you play a card from your warp, you get to draw 1 card and add a marker to the unison, which is nice as well. And then you've got your 4 copies of Vegeta super combos. Because we're going to be running the one of Super Saiyan 3 Gogeta thwarting the Dark Empire. So it just helps you get that if you end up using it as a super combo, goes to your drop. Maybe you overwhelm something, now it's in your warp. And let's say maybe from having to mill the top 3 from one of these cards, maybe this is already now in your warp, and then you can go and play thwarting the Dark Empire, which is nice. And then we've got a Crack in Space Time. Because you're a Saiyan, you get to get your leader 15k double strike, which is awesome. And we also have Super Saiyan 4 Son Goku, Beyond All Limits. So this is a great card. You can essentially just overwhelm with this card. Now you're going to have a 30k body on the field, which is fantastic. And then, of course, what you can do too is if you happen to have one of the new promos here, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, you have this activate main on the card. If you pay 1 black energy, if your leader is black and your opponent has 3 or more energy, and you have a Son Goku Xeno with an original power of 30k or more in play, play this card from your hand, and this card gains critical for the turn. And on top of that, the auto on play is when this card is played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and send it to its owner's warp. So just like that Black Broly, Dark Broly Overrealm card, that one also had the same kind of ability as this. This is just like a better version. But the Dark Broly, unfortunately, had no combo cost, and this does, which is nice. And this also helps fuel for our Thwarting the Dark Empire, which is nice. And then we also got the 3 copies of True Fighting Spirit. Just a great card overall. We've also got 1 copy of Catastrophic Premonition. It is a unique double strike. And when your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand using a non-leader skill, this card gets 10k power, which is just fantastic. So it's a bit of aggression as well. So you can always, play these turn 1 as well. Then we've also got Petrification. This is a fantastic card. You're going to just, if your opponent's going to be attacking with like a dual attacker or a blocker or something like that, this card can just cut them off completely, which is awesome. It's a freaking amazing counterattack. Though, unfortunately, you do have to pay 1 energy, which sucks, but it is what it is. Then we've got the Supreme Kai of Time. She's fantastic for a counterattack. Let's say your opponent's going to attack you with a dual attacker or a double strike or something. You can get rid of that card, and it'll come back later. And then we've also got Koitsukai. Only 1 of, because space is tight and we don't want to go to 53 or 54. I think 52 is just kind of at a good spot already. And this will just, because your cards don't have barrier, this will kind of just slow them down from wanting to hit your barriers. And then we've also got the Bardock the Tenacious. It is like a little flying Nimbus in a way. When this card is played, you can't play copies for the next turn. Your opponent can only attack with battle cards once during their next turn, which is awesome. Then we've got, from the Cumber deck, Cumber Furious Frenzy. So you could already play this turn 2, which is just bonkers. It's a dual attacker, 19k, and you can choose one of your opponent's cards and give it Servant, but it's up to, which is great. So if there's nothing to hit, you don't have to do it. But it's also really nice, because if they've attacked with something that turn, you can just hit that card in rest mode, and now they can't restand it next turn. So they're now down a battle card, which is awesome. And then we've got Brainwash No More. I think it explains itself. Pretty much if your opponent's going to attack with something like a triple strike, you can get rid of this card from your hand and take a life, and then you don't take any damage from that battle. And then we've got Time Regulator Trunks. This is just going to help you cycle your deck, and also if you've got some things in your drop and you want to get them into your warp, this can help you do that. It's just a great thing all along. And then we've got the Cumber. Now, Cumber is a great card to run for just a 1-of, and is like a little boss monster for the deck. We don't really need boss monsters because we have just a lot of aggression in general. But this card, pretty much, you can draw 1, and then you can choose your opponent's cards, give them Servant if you want to. And you can either be a double strike, dual attack, or triple strike. But your opponent has to have 2 or more battle cards on their battle area. But that's not too bad. It happens more often than not. And then for the Z deck, because it's black, there isn't that great of a selection of like Z leaders. But we do have some field removers. So we've got the Majin Buu for that does the job. Get rid of your Z energy, choose your opponent's card, and Buu will swallow them up. And you get plus 20k until the end of your opponent's next turn. Then we've got the 1 Vegeta, just in case you need to self-awaken. Then we've got the Demigra, and this is more of if you use an Overrealm card, you can draw 1 and then get rid of their cards and send them to the owner's warp. And then this 1 of Goku I thought was funny, which is just more for the activate battle. If you have 7 or more black battle cards in your warp, this card gets 5k for the turn. So maybe, you're getting close to decking out or something, and you've got, I don't know, maybe like 20-something battle cards in your warp, which is pretty easy to do with this deck if you go bonkers with it. And yeah, you could end up getting quite a chunky power on that card. And then for the side deck, we decided for choices that you could go with if you want to go either more mid-range or more aggro. And right here, we've gone for a balance of both, where you can still compete more mid-range if the game extends, but you can still stay aggro enough earlier game from turns 2 and 3. So, we have Poutine. This one is in Dark Overrealm. Costs 1 energy, and then you play a token, and then what you do is you swing with Poutine at your opponent, then you can get rid of your token, and you get to restand Poutine, and you get to draw a card. And then Poutine gets plus 10k for the battle, so it's just a dual attacker. And then we've got Thwarting the Dark Empire. This one I have been using for a long time, but you get into situations where if you're not really seeing your first thwarting, then you're never going to be able to put the 2 cards from your warp into your drop in order for you to be able to use the thwarting to send them back from your drop to your warp. So it's more of an optional thing, but it is a very powerful card. And then, of course, Berserk Mode himself and Secret Identity, because it's always just a good thing to have some field removal. And yeah, so what we're looking at for turns 1, 2, 3, I would say add a Goten or a Gohan to your warp, and then either play it from your warp if you can, or just keep trying to search for it. And then, of course, the effect will take place when there are 3 or more cards in your warp. If no Son Goten, then you can always play one of those 1-drop Gokus. Then we've also got turn 2, either play a Unison or a Goten or a Gohan. Awaken, play Cumber, start swinging as much as you can. And if you see a Gogeta, try to play it. Continue playing with Cumber, your dual attackers, your Kraken Space Time, just go aggressive. And of course, for defensive steps, you can always do things like your Supreme Kais, you've got your Koitsu-Kais, you've got Petrification, you've got plenty of things. You have a lot of defense with this deck. I think it is a very good, modest deck overall. But I would say give it a try. It's a lot of fun. It's actually pretty cheap overall. I mean, if you don't want to go for these Super Saiyan 4 Vegetas, you can always go with the other Vegeta card that they have. I'll put it somewhere here so you can see it. But if not, you got the Dark Broly as well for removal. And then, of course, you can always take them out if you don't want to use them at all. And you can always go with the Berserks. Or even Secret Identity. So there's plenty of choices for this deck. So, just a small little deck list. I thought you might like it. If you like the video, like it. If you don't, you don't. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Links to the deck will be in the video description.